Why does everything that's supposed to look modern just make you feel nothing? Look around you. Really look. Every new building looks like a shipping container. Every car looks like a clone. The internet feels like a digital landfill. You thought you were just getting older, didn't you? That you were being nostalgic. Ungrateful. You're not. Between 2023 and 2024, searches for brain rot skyrocketed 230%. We are living through a global aesthetic collapse, and it's not an accident. The question isn't, is everything getting uglier? The question is, are we losing the cognitive ability to even recognize beauty anymore? Architecture. Building Ourselves into Depression, 1854. Henry David Thoreau sits by Walden Pond and writes, "Our life is frittered away by detail." But here's what we forgot. He was warning us against choosing simplistic solutions over meaningful complexity. We didn't listen. We built this. We call it minimalism. But it's not the minimalism of Zen masters finding peace in simplicity. It's the minimalism of the balance sheet. Architecture used to be an anchor for the soul. Look at this man. Hundreds of hours on a detail most people will never notice. Why? Because he believed the world deserved it. Now we build for the next fiscal quarter. Every detail is run through an algorithm. How cheap can we make this before people complain? And here's what nobody tells you. Living in ugly, monotonous spaces increases your cortisol levels. It reduces social trust. It triggers something psychologists call environmental boredom. We're not just building ugly cities. We are literally building ourselves into depression. And an entire generation is growing up thinking, this is what the world is supposed to look like. Automobiles, the death of the curve. Remember when cars had faces? When a vehicle looked like sculpture in motion? A Jaguar E-Type, a 67 Mustang, a classic Porsche 911, the Mercedes-Benz 300 SL Gullwing. These weren't just transportation, they were statements. They had identity. Then came the engineers, safety regulations, aerodynamic efficiency, manufacturing costs, all practical, all necessary, all soul-crushing. They ran the simulations, optimized the drag coefficient, standardized the parts, and created a landscape of visual sludge. This is what economists call the tragedy of the commons. When everyone optimizes for the same narrow goal, fuel efficiency, cheap manufacturing, the collective result is this. Watch people at a classic car show. Their faces light up. They feel something. Now watch them at a modern dealership. They're comparing specs on tablets because there's nothing about the car itself worth feeling. We traded identity for utility, the human touch for the algorithmic ideal. And now our roads look like a simulation. Brain rot, the neuropsychology of ugliness. Here's where it gets truly terrifying. 230% increase in searches for brain rot in just 1 year. Millions of people suddenly trying to articulate the same horror. What they're feeling isn't nostalgia, it's neurological damage. We're consuming content designed not for beauty, but for the dopamine feedback loop. Aesthetics require time to process. Beauty requires a slow brain, contemplation, absorption, feeling. But modern platforms have one priority: speed. If a video doesn't scream at you in 1.5 seconds, you scroll. If a song doesn't hook you in 3 notes, you skip. This has created a race to the bottom. Melodies getting simpler, lyrics more repetitive, visual design flatter. We're feeding our brains digital high-fructose corn syrup. And here's the sickening part. When you lose the ability to focus on complex beauty, you begin to accept and even crave the ugly. Because the ugly is easy to digest. Your brain is being trained to prefer numbness, to seek the path of least resistance. Beauty becomes uncomfortable. It demands too much. It makes you feel too intensely. Every ugly building, every soulless app, every identical interaction, they're microdoses of psychological poison. Individually, nothing. Hundreds per day for years. Your brain is drowning, and we're calling it modernity, fashion and behavior. When people become disposable, the ugliness didn't stop at buildings and cars. It infected us. Look at the uniformity of fashion. Fast fashion giants like Shein have turned clothing into literal garbage. We produce more clothing than any civilization in history. Wear it twice. Post the photo. throw it away. In the past, dressing up was a sign of respect for yourself, for others, for the public space. Now, the pajamification of society. This isn't comfort. This is a loss of public pride. And here's the connection nobody's making. When our surroundings look like garbage, we start treating each other like garbage. There is a direct neurological link between the degradation of our physical aesthetics and the erosion of social etiquette. We don't talk to the person who delivers our food. We don't know our neighbors. We communicate in emojis because full sentences take too long. When the world feels cheap, our interactions become cheap. We've optimized human connection for efficiency, for scale, for speed, and we've never been more alone. The economics of ugliness. So why is everything getting uglier? Because ugliness is profitable. Beautiful architecture takes time, skilled craftsmen, materials that last centuries. Ugly is fast, it's scalable, it doesn't require expertise, and most importantly, it doesn't challenge the consumer. Every design decision is now controlled by algorithms. Which layout gets 2% more clicks? Which color reduces bounce rate? Designers aren't making art. They're solving micro-optimization problems for machines that don't have eyes. Beauty is expensive. Beauty is risky. Beauty might make someone uncomfortable. Ugliness? Ugliness tests well with the average focus group. It's inoffensive, forgettable, safe. And in a world where companies are judged every 90 days, safe is all that matters. We're not optimizing for human flourishing. We're optimizing for quarterly returns. And human flourishing doesn't fit in a quarterly report. The resistance. But here's what they don't want you to know. Beauty is an act of rebellion. Every time you choose to care about details, in the music you listen to, the way you dress, the space you create, every time you actually notice beauty, every time you refuse to accept the minimum, you're fighting back against brain rot. We have to stop optimizing for efficiency and start optimizing for wonder. Stop treating human connection like a transaction. Stop buying things designed to be thrown away. Stop accepting that the future has to be ugly. Because a world without beauty isn't just an ugly world, it's a world where the human spirit has nowhere to rest. The world will keep getting uglier unless we demand otherwise. So I'm asking you, what's the ugliest thing you've noticed in your surrounding recently? Comment below. Let's document the collapse together and figure out how to fight back. Because if we lose the ability to recognize and appreciate beauty, we lose the ability to recognize what's worth fighting for. And if this video made you see the world differently, if it put words to that feeling you couldn't quite name, hit that like button. Subscribe to WWL2 for more videos that challenge how you think about the world around you. And share this. Share it with someone who's tired of living in a world that feels increasingly hollow. Share it with someone who thinks they're crazy for caring about beauty. Because the more of us who recognize what's happening, the harder it becomes for ugliness to win by default.